Good morning, everyone, and welcome along to the GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS Race 2 from Fuji International Speedway. We start our Japan tour in the World Challenge, and the second half of the season starts now. The Fuji International Speedway in the shadows of Mount Fuji in Japan, the highest peak in the Japanese continent. And today, a better day in terms of weather, with the cloud cover much higher than it was yesterday, therefore glimmers of the top of the 4,000 meter peak from the race circuit, which some drivers complained about yesterday, and they said, oh, it was lovely driving around Fuji, but we couldn't see the mountains. There's even a little bit of blue sky out there today. It's the second half of the season started yesterday. We will go to Okayama for the second of our power tours at the end of August, and then the championship finishes at a brand new street circuit in Beijing. Let's have a look closer now at the circuit here in Fuji, on board with one of our Japan Cup competitors.
はい、K チューズレーシングの福住二玲です。富士スピードウェイのオンボードを、見ていきたいなと思います。今ここ最終コーナーから立ち上がってきて、メインストレートなんですけども、ここのストレートがすごい長いせいで予選とかはブレーキ失敗しないかなとか、そういうのすごく、ドキドキしながら、ブレーキする感じです。この車だとだいたい 100m ちょい手前でブレーキを踏んで一足に落として、ここの出口がちゃんとうまく立ち上がらないとここのストレートスピードもロスしちゃうので、非常に出口も大事かなと思います。ここは、ハイスピードコーナーで、クリップがちょっと見えづらいんですけども、外側のトラックリミットがすごい気をつけないといけないですね。でここ 100R で、一番サーキットの中で速いコーナーかなと思います。でヘアピンがあって、ここの立ち上がりもすごく大事で、このストレートにストレートスピードがかなり響いちゃうので、予選とかはしっかりと立ち上がられるように意識しています。で B コーナーブレーキなんですけども、ブレーキの時かなりここバンピでリアロックがあったりするので、その辺はちょっと気をつけて走ってるかなと思います。ここも13コーナー入り口はすごい跳ねるので、飛び込みすぎるとすぐにリアが失っちゃったりして、かなりトリッキーなコーナーかなと思います。でここの13コーナーは、先が若干見えづらいのと出口すごいタイトなので、トラックリミットを気をつけないといけない一つのコーナーかなと思います。でこの最終コーナーも進入大回りして、しっかりと立ち上がり意識しないと、このストレートをすごい、ロスしちゃうので、かなり立ち上がり重視のことを意識しないといけないサーキットなのかなという印象があります。
Thanks to K-Tunes for organising that part of our Japan Cup support package, which will come up later on today if you want some more GT3 action. Here is the bird's eye view of the circuit, 4.5 kilometres in length, and as you can see, a very different final sector of the lap to what we have in the rest of the circuit. Very fiddly, very hard to get past other cars, and that's where the traffic really is very challenging. Well, we had race one yesterday from Fuji. The challenge already very much present. Let's have a look now at the highlights. Highlights of race one, and side by side going down to turn one, the 96 of Lu Kai Lu had the inside line on Frankie Chen, and everyone was very cautious not to have contact through turn one, which is a pretty usual thing to happen. But at the back of the field, coming out of the first turn, there was contact between Chang Woo Lee and the 55, the recovering 55 car, and they both were eliminated with a safety car called. When we went back to racing, it was the AM drivers first, the pro drivers following after the pit stops. The window opened at 25 minutes, no interruptions, and quickly we got the AM drivers into the pits to get them out and get the pro drivers in the cars, as per logic. Coming back out onto circuit, it was still the Win Here Harmony Ferrari, this time of Andy Dung, who led. And the pros started to make progress up through the field. This is Alessio Piccarello fighting for what would eventually become a podium position, going around the outside of the 66 of Jordan Love. He got a penalty for that, he got a 5-second penalty for that, but he was able to build a 5-second gap over the Corvette, so it didn't matter by the end. The 96 had a problem and had to pit, and that handed the victory to the Origin Motorsport of Bob Wan and Leo Ye. Their third win of this year, their sixth win ever in GT World Challenge Asia, and it also meant a healthy advantage at the top of the standings post the end of this race. And guess what? They also have a great start position from today. Just the Asia races this weekend, and therefore the global manufacturer standings stay as they were at the end of yesterday's race, with Mercedes a slight advantage over Porsche. They also have a slight advantage over BMW. I think we should see a new leader by the end of today's action here in Fuji, with that slim advantage for Porsche, for Mercedes, sorry, disappearing and Porsche taking over. But let's see what happens here in race 2. The grid's beginning to form. The mammoth amount of crowd that have basically been populating the paddock areas now coming onto the grid to experience a grid walk. Always very, very special moment for any race fan. And there is Jordan Love. And guess what? Corvette had a pretty good starting position yesterday. They've got an even better starting point today. It is a 1-2 for Corvette, a front row lockout going towards turn 1 with pro drivers in the car, Ben Green and Jordan Love. And that is going to be very, very spicy. Ben Green with just 5 race starts to his name and a victory in Buriram last time out. Jordan Love has done a few more races because he did participate last year, but his best result, the race that we just had, 3rd position, his best in GT World Challenge Asia. Cars still making their way onto the grid of 31 cars. A few of our full season entries not entering a car, unfortunately, for the likes of El Bamba Motorsport, just a single car here. And we are also missing that number 30 Alex Louis Am Mercedes. Leo Ye will be starting in the Origin Porsche, 3rd position on the grid, so behind the 2 Corvettes. And in race trim, the Corvettes definitely didn't have the pace that they had in qualifying. There is no doubt. And so this could be a great opportunity for Origin. But remember that the 87 does carry 15 seconds extra in the pits because of that success yesterday. And that will make their life even harder. 66 of Prince Abubakar and Jordan Love has 5 seconds. So in theory, that's an advantage to Prince Jeffrey and Ben Green, who came here, Prince Jeffrey, as the leader of the championship. And unfortunately lost that lead yesterday with a not particularly strong result. And I think he's dropped to 8th in the standings, Prince Jeffrey. As per his tradition, we had the ninjas yesterday, and today we've got the big drums. Performing on the front of the grid to really bring the atmosphere. massive part of Japanese culture. And great to have that represented on the grid. There is no doubt where we are racing now. So many of these racetracks can be inconspicuous with their character, but when you place the culture of the country on that grid, right in the center of the grid as well, it really is one of the very special things that SRO as the organizing group do to bring that atmosphere down to the paddock area and also to the grid. Look at that for a grid walk. There is barely cars in sight. Such is the amount of people here at Fuji. Just a reminder that not only is there the GT World Challenge Asia race, there's also the Japan Cup race, a national championship, and we have Ferrari Challenge Japan as well. So lots of things for the crowds to enjoy. A full packed day of action. We've got the MZ Supercar or Hypercar show in the paddock, where there is 7 of Mr. Maezawa's Hypercar collection, plus a couple of other random cars parked in there as well, one of which is the Chinese Type A drivers Brian Lee's Porsche collection, which are also pretty awesome to look at, and a couple of Lexuses down there, even a Lamborghini Dakar, the four-wheel drive sort of raised Lamborghini that sort of, I could call it a Dakar car. It's not actually. The Porsche built a Dakar car out of one of their 911 GT3s, raised up, four-wheel drive. Lamborghini then responded and built one as well. And that's also in the paddock area. So huge amount of entertainment, a great atmosphere down on the grid. And we are getting ourselves ready then to go racing. A 60-minute race with a pit stop in the middle of the race between 25 and 35 minutes. And that's where we will get our pro drivers out and put our AM drivers inside the cars. Both Princes are down on the grid with Emily, who is our pit reporter.
So race 2, Sunday it is here in Fuji Speedway. Now I'd like to talk to our 2 Princes. First of all, starting from pole position, Prince Jeffrey. Yesterday, well, it was an amazing qualifying for both of you, but what are you looking forward to today?
We're looking forward to some good racing, you know. The car's good. team has done an awesome job to give us a good car. So hopefully we have some fun racing. Yesterday was their day, and hopefully today can be our day.
Definitely. And as a spectator myself, I am a little bit excited of you two's battle together, or maybe at the first corner, your teammates' battle. What are you thinking about that?
We'll try to keep it clean. I think the first most important thing is we have to think of the team benefit in that, but of course we'll try to have fun.
Okay. And Prince Abubakar, your brother is in front of you. What are you feeling about that?
Well, it's not the first time that he's in front of me, but yeah, we'll keep it clean. We're quite professional at that, and we'll see how it goes.
Car's looking good?
Yeah, very good.
Okay, then we'll be all looking forward to. Have a good race.
Thank you.
Thank you. それでは日本語にちょっと通訳させていただきますけれども、本日ポールポジションスタートするプリンス・ジェフリーなんですけれども、コルベットの車がね非常にパフォーマンスが良くて今日のレースに向けて非常にポジティブな気持ちを持ってるんですけれども、弟がすぐ後ろにいるということで、彼といいバトルをできるようにクリーンな、ね、戦いができるように頑張りますというふうにおっしゃっておりまして、弟の、プリンス・アブバカーもですね、兄が前にいるんですけれども、以前もこういう状況があったので、クリーンで楽しいバトルをできるように頑張りますとのことでした。以上です。Back to you.
Both princes have also taken victories here in Fuji over the years. Not, of course, in a Chevrolet, but in 2023, Chevrolet did take victory with Ida and Takai in the Bingo Racing Chevrolet, that wonderful livery, if you remember. And in 2023, race 2, Prince Abubakar took victory. It was 23, it was 22, where Prince Jeffrey won in a Mercedes. They both won in Mercedes. They've now switched across to Chevrolet. And it is a car that looks good here, you have to say. Working well, although the last 3 victories have all gone the way of Porsche here in Fuji. Even if you spoke to some of the drivers down in the paddock, they would say that Porsche does not have the best BOP, balance of performance. I don't really subscribe to those excuses because the whole point of the BOP is to balance the performance of all the cars, and so the job of the teams is to maximize the potential of the car. And when you see the performance and pace of the likes of Alessio Piccarello and Leo Ye yesterday, they were equal or better than anybody else out there. Looking down on the grid quickly there at Volgas Racing, the Korean team, with Dan Arrow starting in that car. Struggled yesterday with the other driver in that car, Hangmin Wang. But in the hands of Dan Arrow was very, very fast. And Dan has been an absolute star over the last couple of races, over the last couple of months. There's Dorian Boccolacci. He was a bit disappointed in his qualifying performance. And indeed, very disappointed at what happened yesterday. They pulled the car in and retired. He's got a smile back on his face, but there was no points from that car. Another disappointing car yesterday. Max Ooston had their worst performance of the season.
So, Maxime, today is another day. The temperature's kind of a bit hotter than yesterday. We have some wind. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it fits our car quite okay, so I think we're not having a disadvantage today.
Well, yesterday was, I'm sure, a little bit unfortunate day for you guys, but qualifying, your starting position is more higher. What are you expecting today?
Yeah, we had some bad luck yesterday, so we came back from P22 to P11, so damage control in class. Today we're aiming for more. We're aiming for somewhere there.
But you really pushed and you went up to P11 yesterday, so we'll look forward for that performance too again.
Thanks. We'll try our best.
Thank you. マクシーム・ステン選手にお話聞いたところ、昨日よりね予選のスタートの順位が高いので、プッシュをしてしっかりと昨日よりも上の順位でゴールができるようにもちろん頑張りますし、少しね風が出ていて、気温も昨日と変わっているので、そういったコンディションが自分たちにプラスに働くように願っていますというようなことをおっしゃっておりました。以上です。Back to you.
Quite amazing, isn't it, that P11 is their worst performance of the year. Started the year with a 3rd position overall. Last time out in Buriram, they were 2nd overall, even if 2nd overall ended up being 2nd in class because Oh, that's not correct. They were first in class. Let's change that. They have taken basically every single Silver Am victory, but yesterday, third in Silver Am. Again, their worst performance of the season. So Max still with a smile on his face. He's been very busy over the last couple of weeks as well over in Europe doing various 24-hour races. And BMW with no victories in GT World Challenge Asia. They would love to get one today. Let's go back down to Emily, who is with Dan Arrow.
So Dan, today qualifying, well, from this position, it's a very high position, and yesterday you were amazing too, but what are you looking forward to for today's race?
Well, first of all, we're just going to try and do our best. I think we qualified above expectation, which was very nice, and just try and have some fun and work our way forwards and stay here in reality for the Silver Am win.
The temperature is a bit higher than yesterday. We do have some wind. The conditions are different. Will that help you?
It might not. We will see.
Okay then. So best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good race. はい、では、お話聞いたんですけれども、ダン・アロー選手ですね、予選の、昨日の順位が自分たちが想定してた順位よりも非常に高くて、いいポジションでスタートができるのはものすごくポジティブなことだというふうにおっしゃっております。でまた気温とね、風のコンディションについても聞いたんですけれども、それがいい方に作用するかどうかっていうのはやってみないと分かりませんね。楽しみますとのことでした。以上です。Back to you.
I love a driver that's specific about their answers. May or may not help us the temperature today. Now, don't forget that qualifying was interrupted yesterday by Alessio Piccarello spinning and ending up in the gravel trap. And I think we have a mixed grid here. We have a grid that isn't quite where it should be. And we've actually got some pretty fast drivers further down the field. And so it's going to be interesting to see, with our pros in the cars first, just how this all works out. Remember, we've got 4 different categories. We've got Pro-Am, we've got Silver Am, we've got Silver, and we've got Am. So that the Silver Am obviously corresponds to one driver is Silver, one driver is Am. Pro-Am likewise with the Pro and an Am. But we start off here with the more performant drivers. So we've got the Pros in the Pro-Am cars, the Silvers in the Silver Am cars, and then of course Silvers and Ams in those cars that have both drivers of the same grading. But we do still have a couple of pro drivers that are outside of where they should really be. So this is going to be very interesting, this first couple of laps. I think it's going to be really mixed up, and you can see right there on row 3 is Dan Arrow in this 33 car. He's going to have a very, very interesting first couple of laps. There's no doubt about that. The Dutch driver. Actually not called Dan Arrow by birth. His second name is the Dutch word for arrow, which is something along the lines of peel. Really hard to say. And so he decided that quite early on actually in his career that he would not be called Dan Peel, and he would decide to be Dan Arrow. So that's how we know him. Pole in Am is Garage 75, the Ferrari, with pole in silver going to the 45 Audi of Team Phantom. Volgas on the pole for Silver Am. Let's see what Dan Arrow can do. And then the pole position is to Johor Motorsport 99. The less performing car yesterday. So it's 99 ahead of 66 on the front row. Then you've got Leo Ye, our championship leader, on row 2 alongside Jaden Ajeda in 4th position. Watch out for him. Then there is Dan Arrow and Alessio Piccarello, Maximus N and Loris Spinelli. Didn't see anything of that Lamborghini yesterday. Excited to see what they can do with Spinelli today. Ralph Aaron, Boccalacci, Thierry Vermeulen, another one to watch out for in 11th. Then Nico Menzel in 12th. James Ukwai, the best silver, down in 13th position with Yu Kanemaru alongside him. And then Tsubasa Kondo and Sean Thong. Patrick Pile out of position down in 17th, as is Adley Fong in 18th. Marcus Winkelholt should progress as well as Ashish Nandi. And then we've got Seiji Ara and as four back, Daniel Liu. Andy Dung, watch out for that Ferrari, should be climbing through the field. Kotaka, Daryl O'Young, welcome back to the championship, Daryl. And then our AM cars, Colombo, Andrew Bentley, Wakisaka and Andrew McPherson. And what we need to look out for is whether there is a Ferrari at the tail of the field. No, he's not. But is there a 55 Ferrari starting from pit lane? Or is the 55 Winair Harmony Racing Ferrari a non-starter? Now the race starts as soon as the safety car comes across the line, even though we then have a second safety car lap. So I think due to the regulation quirk, the 55, if he is at the end of pit lane, can join the tail of the field. And gosh, is that the 55? Okay, so that's a very different story then. We've got a completely different coloured 55 Harmony Racing Ferrari, which means it's a completely different chassis, I imagine. Now, usually, if you start from the pits, you join the back of the field once the race has started, and the race usually starts under, well, our usual starting position where we go side by side, 2 by 2, and then roll over the field. Because we do 2 formation laps, but the clock has started, look at the left-hand corner, it started, and this start from pit lane rule hasn't really been tweaked to take into consideration all of the above. The 55 will join the back of this crocodile and will take the race start. So if we didn't have the second safety car lap, then it would only start once all the cars have gone through under racing conditions. But I'm pretty sure once that Porsche crosses this white line here, yeah, green light at the end of pit lane, and the 55 could rejoin the back of the field. A little bit of a quirk of one regulation and another, but very interesting to see this car out on circuit. Somebody's going to have to tell me where this car has come from and what livery that is, because obviously it is not the blue of Louis Hangcheng and Elias Sepanen. It's Elias Sepanen in that car, but that is obviously a car that is raced presumably by the team, but elsewhere. It's the Graffield livery that raced at the Spa 12 hours. Well, well, well. Not quite sure what it's doing here, but great to see that car out there, and I like to see a little bit of lateral thinking from some of the teams. So obviously the blue one was heavily damaged in a collision with the 321 at the start of our first race yesterday, and such was the damage they couldn't repair it, and so they've been given special dispensation to use a different chassis, a different car. They may well have had to swap the engine out of the old one and put it in the new one to keep to regulations, but I like to see that SRO have been able to allow that to happen and allow the 55 car to go racing. All cars then on the grid, on the start-finish straight, 2 by 2 formation. Even if we are now racing and we're losing those first 3 minutes of the race to a safety car lap, maybe the rules get rewritten for next year so that we start the race now. Nice and slow and nice and in formation as we saw yesterday. We go through the grid hatchings. Niels Vitic is our race director today, and he'll have been very clear and strict with our drivers, the European race director, and very, very slow indeed, being well controlled by our 2 princes at the front of the field. Then a little bit of a gap to Leo Ye and Jaden Ajada, giving themselves space on row 2. And they have to go a long way down this main straight before they get given the green lights. They go across the finishing line before they get to the start line. And now we wait for those lights to go out. And we are racing here in Fuji. Here we go. It's a very, very long hold and maybe not the greatest start from the Prince on the right-hand side. The 66 is fading into the pack, and it's going to be the 99 that takes the lead, with Leo Ye in second position. Around the outside for the Corvette in third, and is that Marcus Finkelholt or James Yu facing the wrong direction in one of our Phantom Audis? Very, very close between Dan Arrow and Alessio Piccarello. A big slide from the 66 in third position, but holding on to that. Jordan Love nearly completely wiped out most of the field there, but gathered it all up on cold tyres. And Piccarello gets ahead of Dan Arrow. Jaden Najeda hasn't made a fantastic start. He's dropped behind Piccarello. And now Dan Arrow puts another car. Is that Maxime Hussein having to go on the grass, and that pushes another car wide. That's Ralph Aron going wide, and also Thierry Vermeulen going wide further back. Still 3 wide as we go into the B chicane. Not really a place where you want to go more than 2 wide through here. Hearing that that was the 45 that is off circuit, so James Yukwai, the silver championship leader, is out of the race. There is the 46 of Marcus Finkelhock right in the middle of things, and we're going to try and recover this car under yellow flags and not need a safety car. That's good news, because, oh my lord, is it frenetic out there. Dan Arrow getting slightly mugged here. Here is the very, very, oh blimey, fast Nissan that is just being bulked here, trying to find space through between Nico Menzel and Marcus Finkelhoff. There is Loris Spinelli, we didn't see too much of yesterday. Dorian Boccolacci kind of going backwards here and really having to defend from Patrick Pilet. Under pressure. It's Pilet, then it's Yuka Amaru, then it's Anders Forsbach. And a real shuffle of the pack in race 1. Biggest winner there, Patrick Pilet up 7 positions. As we said, he was completely out of position. Marcus Finkelhock made 6, and they've got another spinner. Under yellow flags, we've got the second of the Audis facing the wrong direction. Unbelievable. Both of our Audi Sport Team Phantom cars off the circuit at the same point. One on lap 1, one on lap 2, and Finkelhock facing the wrong direction, but that is in a yellow flag zone. So if there was contact, then somebody is going to get a proper slap on the wrist. Because there is nothing worse than having a collision under yellow flags. There is no doubt about that. Right, back onto the start, finishing straight for our leaders. Further back, Maxime Hussein has dropped to 13th, so he hasn't had a very strong first lap either, dropping 4 positions. Vermeulen dropped 5 spots. We saw him off the circuit. There is Thierry Vermeulen in the Absolute Corsa Ferrari. Obviously it run by Absolute Racing. And let's gather our thoughts then. Ben Green, Leo Ye, Jordan Love, our top 3. Then Alessio Piccarello. Jaden Najeda moved down a couple of positions, with Loris Spinelli putting out them behind. Then Dan Arrow with a little gap to Ralph Aron, Boccolacci, Pilet. Yukan Amaru gets around the outside of Anders Forsbach there for 12th position, and then Hussein behind them. Menzel, Vermeulen, Deng Yi managed to make up 6 positions in his Ferrari. So good start for the 96. They just need a good run, don't they? Yeah, mammoth start for Anders Forsbach. 10 positions gained. Not seen that 86 car inside the top 10 all year long. And to be at the moment, he's not quite. He's in 12th, but he's getting there. Although he's now under pressure for Maxime Hussein. So this is Dan Arrow and Ralph Aron. Arrow in 7th. Just a little bit off the tail of Loris Spinelli ahead. Those first couple of laps have not gone well for Dan Arrow. But also Boccolacci in the 37, not making the inroads you would expect. Around the outside, Maxime Hussein losing a position there to Nico Menzel. And now Vermeulen tries to go around the outside of him, but Maxime is going to be bolted on the inside. Switch back for Thierry Vermeulen. This works quite nicely around this final turn, because you now can sweep super wide, do the cutback and get the momentum down the straight. But Maxime wise to that, almost slightly weird defensive move by holding on the inside line. and that compromised Vermeulen's exit. No, don't think Vermeulen is going to get close enough to him. Ralph Aron still trying to find a way past Dan Arrow. Into turn one, they go side by side. Boccolacci defending from Pilet behind for 9th position. So Menzel did make up a position over Usend in that little battle outside of the top 10 positions. But I'm amazed to see a lack of progress from Boccolacci here. It does seem as though Porsches in general perhaps not as fast as they were yesterday. In these first couple of laps, 24 degrees air temperature, but significantly track temperature up at 45 degrees. So that's 7 or 8 degrees warmer than we had yesterday. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe the Porsche works the tyres in a different way. New tyres this year for GT World Challenge, and at a circuit that is already quite abrasive, needing to learn how to get these tyres to the end of the race. And these gentlemen drivers that will be taking over the cars from their pros later on will want a car that is good underneath them. And so, yes, one thing is having a big fight, these pro drivers. The other thing is preserving the car for their AMs later on. I think Boccolacci's lost a position to Pilet around the final corner there, just out of shot. And that puts Pilet up into 9th and Boccolacci down to 10th position. In fact, they are still side by side at the tail of the shot. Lights on for Pilet. Pilet now in to defend from the Nissan. Has got a great run on the both of them, and Kanemaru goes down the inside of Pilet, and he goes down the inside of Boccolacci, but a little bit too deep into the turn and loses the 2 positions that he's just gained. Has the inside line though for the next corner, which is the left turn, so it still gains the 1 position over Boccolacci, and Boccolacci losing 2. This really isn't going the way of Boccolacci, of the 37 Phantom Global team that yesterday got track limit penalty. They were one of very few to actually get to a point where they got a drive-through penalty, and then their pit stop was 2 seconds too short, and they had to make another drive-through for that. It was actually a stop-go for the problems in the pits. So they stopped for 2 seconds and then went going again. And I think they basically decided to retire the car after that point. Looking further back, oh dear, the 18 car of Porsche Center Okazaki missing part of the front bumper on the right-hand side there. Hopefully that was light contact and there's nothing damaged inside, because that's where the radiators sit, and there's been lots of work done by Porsche over the last couple of years to make them less fragile, because it used to be as soon as you touched anybody with the front end of the car that you'd damage the radiator. But now it looks like the 18 is happily carrying about his business, but somewhere has had contact. Sits in 23rd position. Sepanen already passed, and it looks like he might be coming into the pits. Yes, he is. Quite sure whether that's needed. Maybe race control concerned by the bit of bodywork that's still attached to the car. But I'm afraid into the pits. And there's that no real rush from the mechanics. I don't know if they were even that prepared for the car. They do not seem in much of a rush. But either way, the difficult year for Porsche Center Okazaki continues, because in the 25 car they've had a few clashes, which means they haven't been able to be here. Sorry, the 18 car has had clashes, so it hasn't been able to be here for many of the races. And for those that it has been, the best result 20th, and the best result for the 25 car in Buriram, just a single overall point to its name. Right then, at the head of the field, as we say, the story of the Porsche struggles continues. We've got an oil flag by the looks of things, slippery surface flag on the exit of the final turn. I think that's for a splitter that we saw flying up, probably from this car. and it was the 98 car of Thierry Vermeulen that got into the 46 of Marcus Finkelhock under the yellow flags. And that is now under investigation. And I would have thought possibly a slam dunk. So out of the race, I'm afraid, is the car 18. That's a real shame for Porsche Okazaki. What a great start, though, he managed to get. Wow, he made so many positions even before he got to the line. And then another 3 or 4. Wow, incredibly aggressive. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be too aggressive. Oh, blimey, that was James Yuquai. Oh, very, very unlucky. So James Yuquai, big mistake from him, cutting over the curb at turn 1. Maybe even looking in his rear view mirror, seeing this car coming through. And lucky not to have spun any more cars in that. But unfortunately, the 18 car getting into the side of him. And so that was the reason for the 45 retirement. Frankie Cheng retired that car in Mandalika race 2. Actually, I seem to remember that had about 4 or 5 accidents in that race. And now James Yuquai has done the same thing. But they still have a healthy advantage at the head of the silver standings. They came here, though, as 3rd in the standings overall. So if they wanted to win the title overall, this was not the best outcome. It's always been a challenge for James Yuquai in these second races because he is a silver driver and he's going up against the pros, and it's just so different, especially going into turn 1. The pros are so very aggressive in comparison to the AMs. You saw how gentle the AMs were in yesterday's race, and it was all very gentlemanly and it was all very clean. But the pros know that that's where they need to make the gap, because then they hand the car over to the AMs, and the car needs to be good for the AMs. So they attack for like 2 or 3 laps, and then they settle into a rhythm and they just sit on these lap times. Ben Green leads by 2.3 seconds. There's the advantage over Leo Ye, but Ye has Jordan Love behind him, Picarello, then Ojeda, and then Spinelli. Then there's a gap to Dan Arrow, Paul Aron. Patrick Pilet's caught up to the back of them and dragged Yu Kanemaru along with him, but not Boccolacci, who's continuing to struggle here. Boccolacci out of the top 10 positions. 4 back, Usen, Menzel, and Vermeulen in that next battle pack. Then there's a gap to Andy Dung, who's already made up good positions. And that's clear track ahead of him to continue that pace with a car that really should have scored so many more points in the hands of Andy Dung and Lu Kuai Lu. But it just hasn't come their way. Remember the start line accident last time in Mandalika. Oh, black and orange flag for a no transponder. I mean, there's nothing really you can do about that. A black and orange is a mechanical flag to tell them to come into the pits. Usually shown if there's a bit of bodywork falling off or something is in danger of the cars, but a missing transponder, they've obviously not taken the transponder off one car and then plugged it into the other. And the transponder unique to the number on the race car and the entrant of the car as Marcus Finkelhock and Daryl O'Young go side by side for something way out of where they really should be. This is 23rd position. But the transponder is a little box no bigger than your mobile phone, which is plugged in, which is hardwired into the battery of the car. There is other systems that can be battery powered. For instance, in karting, you'll have a transponder that's battery powered and it's got its own power, but in race cars they generally are plugged in to the power of the car, but they are unique to the number and the entrant of that car. So that needed to be taken out of the old chassis and put into the new one, and it looks as though Win Here Harmony may have forgotten to do that, or if they did do it, they haven't plumbed it in correctly and therefore it's not working. But that's not a simple fix. That's not something that they're going to be able to easily make a solution for, I would imagine. but black and orange means you must come into the pits and fix it imminently. It's not a warning flag. Here's Maxime Hussein then on the tail of Anders Ford, back for 12th position, goes to the left-hand side. That's going to be the outside line into turn 1, but has the pace already, has the momentum, and is able to come down into turn 1 and claim that position. So nice, clean move from the BMW, but he's still fighting outside of the points and fighting in a position that we haven't seen this BMW be in all year long. It's being a bit of a struggle. Right, so into the pits comes the 55. Have they got a solution in the garage to fix that car? It's actually even got the silver AM sticker on the back of it when it's actually a silver entry. So much for the changing. They've taken off the, they've taken off the front right wheel, and that is exactly where the transponder is located, inside that wheel arch. So they know what they need to do. The question is it something that they can easily do, or is it going to take a long time, or is it impossible? Here's our leader, Ben Green. Advantage now 3.1 seconds. Prince Jeffrey, championship leader coming into this weekend, looks on, but it wasn't a good day yesterday. 8th position, just a couple of points for their result yesterday. And it's been one of those years whereby they've had really good weekends, Buriram, Malaysia, and then less good weekends, Mandalika, where they just scored a single point. This one looked like it would be a less good weekend, as Ralph Aron looks down the inside of Dan Arrow, but Dan Arrow has that one covered. No, maybe goes a little bit too deep to the exit of that turn. This is going to allow Patrick Pilet to join the party. Patrick's in 9th. This is Ralph Aron in 8th and Dan Arrow in 7th. Pilet has come from that last battle pack behind into this one, so he is the fastest car on circuit. They've definitely found a solution in Absolute Racing, because they were really struggling last time out in the test sessions in Buriram in presumably this chassis, and that's why they then chose to run the Be Quick chassis for races, because they couldn't find why the other one was going so slowly, and they knew that the Be Quick coloured car had raced the weekend before in the Thai Super Series, and so decided to use that car. But they've switched back to this one, or since then it's been re-liveried. But I would imagine that the Thai Super Series Porsche stays in Thailand, or wouldn't have been able to travel over here, because all of the shipping and the movement of these cars handled by the SRO organisation. So it's not really an easy thing to swap the chassis out. So I think maybe this is possibly the car that went to Thailand, didn't get raced, and either they decided there and then to ship the Be Quick car over here and leave the less good one over there, but then I'm not sure Henk Kiks would be particularly happy about that, or they found a solution. But either way, Patrick Pilet, who shares that car with Wang Zhongwei, is looking a different man over the last couple of weekends. I mean, so much so that their first points were yesterday. Right, so in the pit lane, the 55 trying to work out why the transponder isn't working. As I say, the transponder is located in the front right wheel arch. So one suggests that they did put it in, but they can't work out why it's not being powered. It's an electronic issue rather than forgetting to do it altogether. Nervous energy from Prince Jeffrey. You can tell that by the way that he picked up his Red Bull and then put it back down again. That kind of moment where you just don't know what to do with yourself. You know that you're going to be getting into the car in, well, 10 minutes time. You need to get prepared now though, because if there is a safety car called, then they will have to respond to it. The window opens in 1 minute and 20 seconds, so can be at any given moment a pit stop call. So that's why the helmet goes on, but they may not get into that car for 10 minutes. Bit of brotherly love as well. but that feeling of anticipation, you're all prepared, you're all ready to go. What you want to do is go from layman watching the race to racing driver in a short period of time. Just put the helmet on and go. But of course, with these regulations, you need to get yourself prepared earlier, and that just adds to that pressure. Boccolacci defending from Maxime Hussein for 11th position. This is so out of character. What they do know at the 37 cap is that when they give that car to Anthony Liu, he is one of the best AMs out there. And in that battle with the 89, definitely the stronger between himself and Ruan Chunfan. So whilst Maxime Hussein can try and do something about this, it possibly will go the other direction once the AMs are in. Thierry Vermeulen just losing the rear end of that Ferrari at the back of that queue. Ralph Aron still crawling all over the back of Dan Arrow, and Arrow doing a splendid job of defending, even if he is holding on happily to his silver AM lead. He wants to keep ahead. Oh, but Ralph Aron's managed to find a way through, pushes Dan Arrow off the circuit, nearly some contact between the two of them. Was there a bit of contact? Because the door is half ajar for Ralph Aron. There was a bit of contact on the exit of the corner, giving Ralph the hurry up. Oh, and Ralph brakes really, really early, and Dan Arrow goes into the back of him, opens the door to Patrick Pilet, but that was kind of naughty. Now, pit window is open. Anyone of this lot going to go into the pits? Yu Kanemaru has been not compromised by that fiddling around, and Yu Kanemaru now goes down the inside of Patrick Pilet. Pilet tries to give him the side draft and the squeeze. It's amazing how much of an effect that makes on the cars. We've also got side-by-side further back between Boccolacci and Hussein that are fighting for position, and they sort themselves out as Yu Kanemaru continues to ride alongside Patrick Pilet. Pilet's side draft really worked in that Porsche, and now he continues to benefit from it as they go down towards turn 3. He'll have the inside line for this long, fast left-hander and gets the position, but that really was a defending position rather than anything else, because Dan Arrow and Ralph Aron got into each other. And look at how Ralph Aron now disappears up the road. That was a Mercedes that we just didn't see yesterday from Climax. It finished 18th position, one of its worst finishing positions of the year. And when it's handed over to Mike Joe, we'll see what happens. It won't be handed over yet though. Pit window is open, and we've got a few cars already in pit lane. But as I say, converse to what we saw yesterday, we'll have the AMs waiting. The Pro-Am cars will be waiting until the end of the window. And so the Silvers and the AMs will be taking advantage right now of the window being open. All those that are really caught in traffic. Who are those two going into the pits? No, it's not going into the pits. There's a battle going on down the main straight, and I have a feeling that that's Ojeda and Spinelli for 5th position. Ojeda, yes, you can't see Spinelli. He's tucked up behind the Mercedes, and Spinelli now goes to the outside line to try and get 5th position before they hand over to their AM drivers. Tao Che will be taking over the 31. Vincenzo Ricci, who is new to our championship, will be taking over the 19, and we didn't see anything of this 19 car yesterday because unfortunately Vincenzo, with an injury, was struggling at the tail of the field. So great to see Spinelli, who drove with Henk Kicks in that car in Buriram, but as per each year, Henk just doing the Thai races rather than travelling outside of Thailand, and disappointingly Buriram not on the calendar for next year, and so that might be the end of us seeing Henk, who also sponsors the Thai Super Series as a championship as a whole. He's got his Be Quick logos across a couple of cars and across the championship, and participates in that championship as well, which races in Bangshan even, and the Buriram International Circuit. Side by side still, Spinelli tries to go all the way around the outside of Jaden Ojeda, but that doesn't work for him. Door opens, so Jaden tries to go around the... Oh, no, contact between the two, and big wheel-to-wheel contact. And that may well have damaged that Mercedes. That was heavy contact with lock-on, and that may well have bent that steering arm. Ojeda comes to the pits then, deciding perhaps to change to Tao Che, or is this because that is damaged? Really unfortunate, because he was taking the normal racing line, that big sweeping outside line. Let's take a look at it again. Spinelli goes to the inside line for the overtake, and I just don't think that Jaden Ojeda thought Spinelli was there. He was in the blind spot. You've got these big headrests on the left and right hand side of the helmet, and there's no way that Ojeda would have seen Spinelli being there. And obviously Ojeda feeling he didn't need to defend, because usually if you do the cutback, you've got better momentum by taking that big wide outside line, then cutting back and apexing late. But it does open the door for people to dive up the inside, and that's one of the really great quirks of that particular corner. It opens you up for those overtaking opportunities. Right, now don't forget that when we get into the pit phase of our Pro-Ams, the second place car, the 87 car, has to be in the pits for an extra 15 seconds. The 66 car has to be in the pits for an extra 5 seconds. So we would expect the 66 to jump past the 87, and Picarello in the number 4 has to be in the pits for an extra 10 seconds. So Picarello is going to drop behind as well. Do you know what? I think that we're going to end up, obviously we're going to see the 99 with a healthy advantage, but Spinelli, the 19 Lamborghini, may well find himself in second position with Vincenzo Ricci, and that's going to be interesting. Yuka Amaro having a look down the inside of Dan Arrow for the Silver Am lead. Max Usend has now got himself up into in contact with those cars as the 29 comes in. That is Akish Nandi. We'll hand over to Huang Ruhan. And that Silver Am category, very, very competitive. Those guys have been on the podium multiple times in second and third. They've never won Silver Am, but they are well out of contention for a podium today. Back out on circuit then. Tao Che crawling all over the back of Alessio Picarello. So it's a longer pit stop there for the 31 because they had to fix the damage and put a bit of tape over the bodywork. But I'd be more concerned about the steering arm on that car. Surely it isn't quite how it should be with contact like that. I mean, literally the car bounced from the contact. Probably got another lap before they need to switch over to the second drivers for these Pro-Am leaders. I'll tell you what though, Prince Jeffrey is going to have another mammoth lead, like we saw in Malaysia, wasn't it, where Alexander Sims handed over to Prince Jeffrey with this huge advantage, and Prince Jeffrey just had to hold on. At that time, I think it was second for most of that race until he was handed over the victory. Dan Arrow attacks pit lane, bang, gets to the line, puts on the 50km/h limiter, followed in by Usen, followed in by Boccolacci. So Arrow will hand over to Han Ming Wang. Usen will hand over to Ruan Chunfan, and Boccolacci to Anthony Liu. None of those cars with any kind of extra penalty, so they will come into the pits, and each of those pit stops should be exactly the same in terms of the amount of time it takes. Remember, silver drivers, the silver pairings, they have to do an extra 7 seconds. So where you found your silver cars before pit stops, they will drop down versus the AMs and the Pro-Ams. Good little fight going on here. This is cars that have come out of the pits. Although Menzel hasn't pitted yet, and neither has Vermeulen. So actually it's not. That's Anders Forbach, Menzel and Vermeulen yet to pit, trying to get past Han Ming Wang. Trying to get past the 29 of Juan Ruhan. Now the rest of them have to stop. There's less than a minute remaining of the pit window, so everybody now needs to come into pit lane that hasn't yet stopped. The 99 with no success compensation, so that will just do a standard 90-second stop. Be 105 for the 87 in second position, 100 for Picarello in the 4, and the 66 has already pitted one lap before. It's always so chilled when they've got, especially when you've got that extra success compensation. They've got so much time to get the car serviced. Now, who is our virtual leader that has not stopped? It's going to be, well, it's going to be 66, isn't it? So Prince Abu Bakr is our virtual leader out on circuit here, as we have Tony Wan down the inside of Han Ming Wang and Anthony Liu watching on. This could work nicely for the 37 that might get the cut back, had the momentum with the two of them fighting, but unsuccessful pass from the 89. This is all for the last scraps of the top 10 once everything shakes out, I imagine. It is going to be important. Now, Anthony Liu going to the inside. The 99 comes out the pits miles ahead of the rest. That's exactly what we were expecting. And it does look like the 19 Lamborghini of Vincenzo Ricci is going to come out in second position, thanks to Loris Spinelli. Watch that car, because it was a bit of a struggle yesterday. Here comes the 66 to go around the outside, perhaps, of Mike Joe in the number 2. And that will put him back up into... Not quite, but it will soon put him back up into third position. So 4th spot for the 66, 5th for the number 4 of Wei Lu, who is one of our strongest AM competitors. And Mike Joe holding on at the moment to third position here. Now this is genuinely for position, so Mike Joe needs to get his elbows out. He puts his Mercedes on the inside line to defend from Prince Abu Bakr, but there's no time for Prince Abu Bakr to hang about here. If he wants to chase down his brother, he needs to clear this traffic as quickly as possible. Can it be a Chevrolet 1-2 in race 2 here in Fuji? Again, big defense from Mike Joe. What he doesn't need is to be compromised here, because there's a lot of cars behind who want to capitalize on this bulking by the number 2. Hirobon in the Nissan is also about to join that queue, and all of them will be chasing down and catching Vincenzo Ricci. Meanwhile, it's going to be in a mammoth advantage. Where did the 87 come out? Bob Wan in 7th position, but isn't there. Okay, just comes into the shot now, being chased down by Tao Che. Kieron Lee up there, amazingly, in the top 10. Anders Forbach with a much stronger first stint than we've seen from that team all year long. And the boys have worked hard. The sweat pouring off the face of Jordan Love in pit lane. Mike Joe once again goes defensive. Holds Prince Abu Bakr at bay. He needs to be more aggressive here, does the Prince. He's obviously got the pace over Mike Joe, but he's allowing Mike to place that car wherever he wants to go. Goes a little bit more aggressive through turn 3, but that's really not the place to do it, and that will compromise his momentum. That will allow Wei Lu, and actually Wei has to back out of it. But look how much of an advantage Mike Joe has taken from that half attempt. You can do a half attempt through a tight turn, like the big braking zone into the chicane, but a half attempt through a slow corner really does compromise you. What about the final turn? Maybe that's what the Prince is now thinking. Ooh, Mike Joe goes deep. It's okay, it covers his line, but it will compromise his momentum out of the chicane. Maybe what will upset this little park is when Mike Joe catches the Lamborghini. Still 1.4 the gap between the two. It actually hasn't changed on the last lap. But when Mike Joe starts having to attack, that might then open the door. It's easy to defend when you don't have to attack, but when you have to attack and defend at the same time, that makes life a lot harder. And look at this queue of cars behind. So you've got Prince Abubakar, Lu Wei, Hirobon, Bob Wan, and Tao Che, with Kieran Lee there, and Brian Lee in the number 10 GTO Racing Porsche as well. Actually, Brian Lee is just off the back of it, isn't he? He's got his own battle pack to contend with Anthony Liu now past both the BMW and the Porsche. And the more that Mike Joe stays there, the more it will allow someone like Anthony Liu to catch them all. Pace on that last lap of 42.8. It's half a second slower than Prince Jeffrey is doing in clear air at the head of the field. Oh, a bit of a wiggle from Vincenzo Ricci. He's got so little experience in racing in GT3 cars, in racing in this Lamborghini, in kind of racing in general. And at the moment, thanks to his great stint from his teammate Loris Spinelli, he's holding on. But now the pressure is going to start mounting. Those little wiggles that he had on that last lap would have really made him tense up in the car. Just all about confidence. It's all about trust in your vehicle. And as soon as you break traction like that, you lose the trust. Into this final turn. This is where Mike Joe could have dived down the inside. And again, the traction braking for the Lamborghini. That's a disaster out the final turn. It's going to definitely lose one position, but maybe even more. Here comes Mike Joe to its outside. This is a battle for second position. They're 15 seconds back from the lead of the race. And the Lamborghini has very, very good straight line speed. And actually, Prince Abubakar is going to have to be careful with Wei Lu behind him. Wei Lu looks to the inside of Prince Abubakar. Mike Joe doesn't get through on Vincenzo Ricci, but Wei Lu does get past Prince Abubakar. Now side by side, continuing for second position. The inside line for Vincenzo Ricci. No way to get past here for Mike Joe, but he tries to switch back. It means he's on the outside line again, but he does have more momentum. And round the outside goes Mike Joe. Here comes Wei Lu, and he goes around the outside as well with a little dab of the brake from Vincenzo Ricci to give Wei Lu racing room. Prince Abubakar now down the inside as well. So here comes the free fall from the Lamborghini, I'm afraid. Tao Chi and Bob Wan going side by side for 7th position at the back of shot there. And Hirobon hasn't quite cleared the Lamborghini, but now looks to the chicane to do so, as our championship leader defends from the Mercedes. And that looks like a dive from Tao Chi down the inside of Bob Wan. Is he going to make it stick? No. And unfortunately the circuit goes left, so no doing for the moment. Oh, that's ambitious for Bob Wan down the inside of Hirobon. This is action-packed stuff here in Fuji. Now to the outside for Bob Wan. The Nissan forced to have the inside line and now needs to cut across the nose of that Porsche to stop the momentum from happening. But no, Bob Wan keeps the momentum around the outside. The Nissan has really good straight line speed, as we've seen all day. And Hirobon may well hold on to this position for another couple of corners, but they will have Vincenzo Ricci to try and get past. As further ahead, a battle continues to develop. Tao Chi down the inside of 2 cars. Tao Chi trying to get past the both of the Nissan and Bob Wan. Nissan losing out there. Tao Chi getting back past one of them. And Bob Wan up 2. Now it's Bob Wan's job to try and get past this Lamborghini. It is all going off here, and we've got a back marker to play with as well. Ricci holds the inside line. The back marker tries to get out the way, but it kind of compromised Bob Wan. Bob Wan gets down the inside. So does Tao Chi. Cleanly done from the 2 of them. But Tao Chi has better momentum and goes alongside Bob Wan. And unfortunately, this hasn't worked out at all for Hirobon. He really needed to get his elbows out. Although still leading the Silverham competition. Round the outside goes the Nissan, claims the inside line for the second part of the chicane. That's lovely work. But unfortunately, it's a little bit too late, because he's now lost touch with Wan and Tauchi, and has a 1 second stop-go penalty for a short pit stop. Oh no. So the Nissan's day is done, and that's going to hand the lead in Silver Am to that 86 car of Origin Motorsports, Kieran Lee and Anders Forsbacka. Into the pits comes the Nissan. Just 1 second. Oh, so little, but it's punished so much. Kieran Lee, sorry, not Kieran Lee. Lu Wei trying to get past Mike Joe, who's doing a really good job of holding on to this second position. The pace is increased though by the Mercedes, and on the good days we have seen Mike Joe on the podium, second in Mandalika race 1 and third in Buriram race 2. But in the early part of the stint, he did not have the pace in comparison to Prince Abubakar and Wei Lu. Now it's looking much better for Mike Joe. Outside of the top 10 in the championship, thanks to pretty much every other result that's been out of the points. So they've had 2 podiums in that car, and then everything else has been out of the points or retired. They've spun from the lead in Malaysia's race 2 in Sepang. And there's an incident involving car 13 and car 98 under investigation. I don't know if that was pre or post pit stop, but Adley Fong has retired. They didn't fix the transponder. Well, no, so they did fix a transponder on the 55, but it took 7 laps to do so. And so, unfortunately, Elias Sepanen and Lu Hangcheng have had a pointless weekend. And yes, the 13 also out of the race. Oh, big contact out of the final turn, and that's the 911 of Wang Zhongwei, and the silver car of the 16 of Rio will be in that car now, but that is going to be a safety car. And they are halfway down the straight there. What has happened? That's going to kill the advantage for Prince Abubakar, Prince Jeffrey, sorry, at the head of the field, who's got an 18.7 second advantage, but will need a safety car to clear up what's happened at the final turn, and he's going to lose completely that advantage. Already going slowly, already being shown the full course yellow. So full course yellow means everybody drops down to 60 kilometers an hour and the gaps stay the same, but there's not really any gap in the traffic to allow marshals to get onto the track. Great to see that Rio is out of the car, but that would have been a high-speed incident coming out to the final turn. And we await to see Wang Zhongwei, that 911 car. We were talking about it in the hands of Patrick Pilet, the progress that it had made. And look how far away they are from the exit of the turn. I can only imagine that this is one car defending another and contact being made. Disappointment clearly from Rio. Unfortunately, we've seen a couple of times this season that 16 car in the wars. And he walks dejectedly back down to his garage. But in Buriram in race 1, where they had such a great qualifying, and they crashed straight away, it was very much Rio's fault, and he took full responsibility, but not necessarily. We haven't had a chance to see the incident to sort of make a judgment as to whether he is in any way responsible at all on this one. There's obviously been a bit of a shunt. There will not be much in terms of protection around that area. Tyre barriers placed in all the places they need to. This is a grade 1 circuit, so this is a Formula 1 style of security and safety. Means that the tyre stacks are deep where they need to be. I've counted four or five deep at certain parts of the circuit, but halfway down the main straight, you're unlikely to have many tyre stacks. We are going to go to safety car after the... oh, let's get down to Emily. She's catching up with Rio.
Rio, first of all, good to know your body's okay. What happened there?
It's a very hard break, so I can't go outside, so I have a crash.
Well, once again, good to know you're safe. Thank you.
Very hard break. Oh, nice to see that Wang Zhongwei now out of the car and looks absolutely fine, doesn't he? But Rio describing a very hard break. You should not be braking in the turn. Right, so Rio's got the momentum coming out of the turn, doing the classic switchback, loads more pace, comes out of the turn, comes across to pick up the slipstream. Is there any braking? Is there any brake lights? Yes, there was brake lights. Yes, there was brake lights. He's completely correct. Wang Zhongwei has hit the brakes, and one can only assume that Wang Zhongwei that was going into the pits there. Wow. And thank the Lord for the safety here at Fuji, because Rio found some tyre barriers on the end of that pit lane entry, and so often that is a danger point. The pit entry where the barrier starts can be a horrible place to have an impact, but Rio into a tyre stack there, and there was absolutely nothing that he could do. Wang Zhongwei hitting the brakes in a straight line. I suppose what needed to be done there, if the 911 was coming into the pits, was he needed to put the indicators on to say he's coming into the pits before braking, because we definitely saw brake lights there, and that is, yeah, not cool if it was simply to try and shake the Uno racing car off his tail. Clock still counts down, 8 minutes still to go of this race. We've got to go to safety car after the full course yellow, as per the new regulations in GT World Challenge across the world. Safety car is now out. But what we don't really want is cars going fast to catch the safety car. So looking at the race control, the 911 car had been given a drive-through penalty. So it was coming in to serve its drive-through penalty, and that is just super unlucky. The only thing you can do there is put your indicator on, and unfortunately I think the Audi is so close to the tail of the Porsche we can't see if there was an indicator, but he's pulled off to the right hand side. He's clearly said I'm either defending or I'm going into the pits. He's heading into the lane, but he could still at this point be defending or going into the pits, and he hits the brakes, and there's nothing that Rio can do there. And the only thing I would say is if he had the indicator on, that would have said to the car following that I'm going into the pits, come past me. But as soon as he just hits the brakes like that, there is nothing that Rio could do. A good bit of digging there from our production team to see that he was due a drive-through penalty for track limits. He was the only one, and that incident clearly under investigation. But with them both out the race, the only thing you're going to have is penalty points awarded and behavioural warning points that we have for all of our drivers. which are carried through across the full season. If you get more than 6, then you get penalties for your car during the race. So also a grid penalty can be handed out for the next race in theory. But that's quite unfortunate for the 911 car, because that is also a car that I think Absolute Racing have got a handle on and worked out how to make fast, and Patrick Pilet was certainly making that fast. If we didn't need any more to go into the highlights, we are potentially going to have a race start here with about 2.5 laps remaining. And that's the 60 car in the garage. And they retired yesterday out the lead of AM, and it looks like they've done exactly the same again, reporting vibration issues. We actually haven't checked in with who's leading what. So in all of the drama, the BMW of Tony Ruan Kunfan, is back to the head of Silverham, which just did not look like it was going to happen this race. It looked like this was going to be a pointless weekend for the BMW, but somehow they found themselves up in 8th position, so fantastic job. That has been a pass on track somewhere, ahead of the 86 of Kirong Lee, who was leading Silverham. And then Silver, because we've just lost to Silver, it is the 96 of Lu Kai Lu who leads in Silver. But we've only got 2 runners left in the Silver category, because we've already lost the 45 early on in the race, and now we've lost the 16. So just 2 finishers, Liang Jiatong, second in Silver. And then in AM, we've got the 75 of David Chipto Biantoro, just ahead of the Alabama Motorsport car that won yesterday, in the hands of Setuan Santosho. The Nissan separates the 2 of them, and then Ben Porter is 3rd in that class, but by far the fastest of the lot. And with this squeeze of the pack, I imagine that Ben could get himself to the head of the category by the end. Are we going to go racing this next time by? Safety car lights are still on. Looks as though the track is clear, I think. Is that a problem with the Ferrari there, or is it just moving around? Pit lane entry is open. Safety car in this lap. We are going to go racing, and we are going to have maybe 2 laps, depending on how fast we can get round. We're only halfway round the circuit. It may only be 1 lap. Oh my Lord, this is going to be tense stuff for the final lap of the second race here in Fuji. Prince Jeffrey at the head of it. Mike Zhou in 2nd. Lu Wei in 3rd. Prince Abubakar 4th. Bob Wan, our championship leaders, 5th position. Tao Che 6th. The Lamborghini of Vincenzo Ricci in 7th still. Ran Chunfan, Anthony Liu, and Kirong Lee, the top 10. This could all be very frenetic. There is no doubt about that. Is this a lights to flag victory for the 99? In command of the race in its entirety, thanks to a great first stint from Ben Green, thanks to a really strong stint from Prince Jeffrey, but all of that advantage has been stolen away from them by the safety car, and now Prince Jeffrey needs to control Mike Zhou. Needs to control the pack, needs to control the pace. It is going to be a 1-lap shootout to the flag. Oh, actually, maybe 2. No, it is going to be 1, just the 1 lap. Nice and slow, and here goes Prince Jeffrey in the middle of the final turn. He sends it out of the final turn, and off we go, back to racing. Lu Wei looks the strongest in the top 3, crawling all over the back of Mike Zhou, and Prince Jeffrey's done a fantastic job there. Watch out further back for Tao Chi in a race-long battle with Bob Wan, nailed to the back of the Porsche The Mercedes is looking strong going into the first turn. Prince Jeffrey doesn't need to worry. He's going to be okay. Nobody's going to attack him. Wei Lu to the inside of Mike Zhou. Yes, that's done. Around the outside, of course, there's contact. Bob Wan wiggled his way past Prince Abubakar. Tao Chi hasn't managed to get past, but Wei Lu has got past Mike Zhou into second position. Wei Lu needs to defend on Mike Zhou now because Zhou's got good momentum. Zhou into third position. Bob Wan to fourth, but there was contact with Prince Abubakar, and that will potentially be looked at by race control. And still a couple of corners where you can make passes. Oh! Big lose from Mike Zhou. He takes out Wei Lu from second position, locks the rear, and that's now handed second position to Bob Wan and third position to Prince Abubakar. Can you believe it? Mike Zhou was taken out from the lead of the race in the second round of our championship, and he's now taken himself out of second position. Cold tyres locks the rears, and all of that has meant Prince Jeffrey has had a pretty hassle-free final lap of this race. There's Bob Wan. I still think he might be getting a penalty. 37 has got a penalty, Anthony Liu, for causing a collision, so they're going to drop down out of the points as well. But one final turn remains. There's still fighting going on behind, and is there cars facing the wrong direction? There is. Oh no! Prince Abubakar's been taken out. Richard Van's been taken out. And over the line to take the checkered flag, Prince Jeffrey has taken the victory, but it's chaos here in Fuji. What do you expect when you have a one-lap shootout? I can see smoke in the distance. I don't know what's going on at the final turn. All the cars come across the line, and limping to the flag will go the number 66. It just has had no luck at all, and he needs to pull that car over because, oh no, he's got it going again. I don't think there's much point in getting it finished, but that is bent rear suspension. And that 66 car is just definitely not the blessed one. Accident damage in round 1, accident damage in round 2, penalty in round 3, DNF in round 6, and now in round 8 gets turned around. We obviously didn't quite see what happened, but I think there were 3 cars trying to get the same apex, and I think 31 Tao Chi was involved in it. I think Tao Chi might have been up the inside of the 66. Oh, and we do have a replay. Well done, team. Right, let's have a look. So there's the winner coming out of the final turn. There's Bob Wan in second position. And no, I think they both made contact with each other, and Tao Chi wasn't involved in it, but it would have been a big send from the 89 because they were like 7th or 8th. And there's the disappointment down in the JMR garage. Right, so what actually happened at the end? What's our finish? All incidents, I love that, all incidents under investigation. So tune in later when we will give you the official result, because it's not going to be the one that we show you. Now, it's not going to replicate even the podiums, I don't think. Bob Wan, for me, is going to have a penalty for the contact at turn 1 on that last lap. It probably isn't going to be a lot, but even a 5-second penalty is going to drop you down. Well, actually, because of that chaos, if Bob Wan gets a 5-second penalty, he will only drop to like 7th position. So it wouldn't hurt that much. Tao Chi, don't know if he was involved in the incident at the final turn from the camera angle that we can see. In 4th position, the number 37. Now, has the 5-second penalty been applied to him already? I don't think so on my timing screen. So the 37 on my timing screen is in 4th, but I think he's going to drop down to about 14th or 15th. And all of that may put Vincenzo Ricci and Loris Spinelli, the 19 Lamborghini, could end up finishing in the top 3. There is no doubt, though, in my mind, who the winner is. Once again, for the 3rd time this year, Prince Jeffrey is a victor. controlled that last lap absolutely perfectly. And he is the boss of Fuji, there is no doubt. I really don't know if anybody knows who finished in the other positions, but a great first stint from Ben Green, an advantage of 15 seconds that Prince Jeffrey continued to build on in his second stint. It was up to about 20 seconds until it got eroded away, but he controlled that restart beautifully. He put Mike Joe in a compromised position down into turn one. Mike Joe spun around and took out Wei Lu. I'm not sure what secrets Ben is telling Prince Jeffrey.
Oh, mate, you drove fantastically, though. Really good.
And some really nice words from Ben Green down there in the pit lane. Not sure how many more times we'll see Ben this year. Now 2 victories to his name. There are very few drivers that have 2 victories. Let's go down to Emily, who has our race winners.
A third victory for them. What a race. Oh, so much drama. But first of all, with you then, Ben, you handed the car to Prince Jeffrey with so much gap, and then this happened. How did you feel when that happened?
Obviously, yeah, a bit disappointing to lose our 18-second lead, but Jeffrey did an amazing job to get the gap and extend it even more after the pit stop, and then he controlled the restart fantastically as well.
But you were amazing anyway. Prince Jeffrey, another victory for you. Congratulations, first of all. How was the last few laps?
Well, first of all, I got to thank this guy for putting on pole and making my job slightly easier, but there's a lot of fast cars around, so I just had to, put my head down and just complete my lap and then just do what I do and just enjoy it most importantly. But yeah, the last few laps was good. When I saw the safety car, that got on my nerves a bit. I was enjoying the lap, I was enjoying the gap. So yeah, great work to the team for giving us a great car, and thanks to everyone's support back home and even the family that came.
Yes, congratulations to all of you once again. Thank you so much.
Just the 5 drivers in the GT World Challenge that have taken 5 victories and more, and Prince Jeffrey now adds his name to that. Here is Mike Joe, just losing the rear end on the brakes, and Lu Wei completely the innocent victim there. So unlucky. So yeah, I mean, so the backer shot there, Tao Chi is going up the inside of the BMW, the 89 BMW. Now, whether the 89 BMW then ends up into the side of the 66 because he's been already hit by Tao Chi, or whether he moves out the way of Tao Chi and ends up in contact with Prince Abubakar, it's not clear, but we're going to have a lot to unwind. Let's go back down to Emily.
P2 goes to the 2 drivers from Origin Motorsports. Congratulations, first of all. What a chaotic final lap.
Well, it's a lot of drama last lap. It's like every driver is fighting like a monster. So yeah, I had a big pressure from the AMG. He tried to overtake me on the street, and he's pretty fast. So I have a lot of pressure over the fence. Yeah, but yeah, it's okay. I hold the positions, and I saw another AMG hit my teammate during the T6. It's like, unfortunately, my teammate, I don't know what's the position he finished, but it's, yeah, anyway.
Is he physically okay?
Yeah, should be okay, I think, but it's too many, drama condition, yeah.
I can tell what you want to say. Yeah, thank you. How about you, Leo?
Yeah, the race is okay. I mean, today is hot, so I'm struggling a bit with the tires. But apart from the leading car, I think our pace is not that bad. And Bob's doing really good. He got injured with risk, but he can still manage to bring the car back and get some overtaken down. It's really amazing, but really a shame for our teammates. We feel really bad for him.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for the hard work, both of you. Congratulations.
Yeah, I wonder if Bob Wan there has just twisted his wrist with that contact into turn 1. As I say, he was so sort of under pressure from Tao Chi that maybe he just missed his braking point and made contact down the inside at turn 1. No indication whether that is under investigation or not. The BMW number 5 retired out the race as well. Here are the unofficial results, we should say. Gary 75 holding on to victory in AM, that's probably no doubt in that. And the winner of the race, the 99 Pro-Am victory as well for JMR. Winner of Silver Am, it became the 86 of Kieron Lee and Anders Fordback. And I think the winner is no doubt Ben Green and Prince Jeffrey. Bob Wan and Leo Yi in second position, with Craft Bamboo's Tao Chi and Jane Lajeda in third. Spinelli and Ricci could end up here in second position if there's penalties for the cars ahead of them, with Kieron Lee and Anders Fordback having not scored a single point all year. Fifth position. Dan Arrow and Minwei Han, they did deserve a sixth spot actually. Dan Arrow's first stint so strong. And then the Absolute Corsa Lamborghini in seventh position. Thierry Vermeulen had a penalty down in ninth spot, but he did score points with Hamaguchi. And the Win Here Harmony 96 ended up in the top 10 and winning silver ahead of Darrell Young and Jaitong Yang in the Craft Bamboo. Anthony Liu and Boccalacci pointless this weekend. They got a penalty for contact as well, dropped down to 12th position, just ahead of the Nissan. And Ben Porter did get up to second in AM, but was not able to chase down Tipto Bian Toro. And so many cars below them with stories to tell. Oh, there's a lot of highlights from race 2 in Fuji. The pros in the cars got their elbows out heading down to turn 1. And it was Ben Green who led from the front of the field, but a slow start from Jordan Love in the 66 Corvette meant that Leo Yi was able to go down the inside of him up into second position. The 18 made a mega start from the back of the field, but unfortunately James Yu Kwai losing control of his Audi and the 18 going into the side of him. It would be a retirement for the 45 and the 18 eventually. Qualifying had been interrupted, so it felt as though the grid wasn't really completely correct. And Dan Arrow getting into the side multiple times of Ralph Aron. Ralph having to really defend in that number 2 Mercedes. Pit stops came, and there would be no success penalties for the number 99, which would have a mammoth advantage post pit stop over the 87 that obviously had a win yesterday, and therefore an extra 15 seconds in the pits. The 66 had been on the podium yesterday and therefore fell into the clutches of the number 2 Mercedes, and then a mammoth fight began between Prince Abubakar and Mike Joe, who did a really strong job of defending everywhere he went. That Mercedes was double the width that it actually resembled because there was no way through. Then we had this really strange incident that the 911 was heading to pit lane to serve a drive-through penalty, and the 16 of Rio, trying to take a slipstream from the Porsche, got caught out, and boom, the two of them having a mammoth accident and causing a safety car. 1 lap to go when the safety car came in, and all hell broke loose. Mike Joe losing control and going into the side of Wei Lu. And then at the final turn, whilst the front 2 went through successfully, there was contact, I think, between Tao Chi and the 89 BMW, and then the 89 BMW spun into the 66 Corvette. There was other things happening that we didn't even get a chance to see, but no doubt the victor, Prince Jeffrey, taking his 3rd win of the championship, Ben Green second, and they move back to a strong position in the championship as we move to Okayama at the end of August. So just to clarify some of the other stories, we had a retirement from the number 5, which was the BMW Team Stude, which retired on the last lap. We also saw the 60 in the pit lane that retired. And dropping back right at the end was also the 321 of Changwoo Lee. It did finish, as did Mike Joe actually. And Lu Wei also finished down in 19th, 20th and 21st. Provisional podiums. Obviously, race control having to sort their decisions out, and they will take their time to deliberate what happened in those final couple of turns before making a decision. So the podium is kind of provisional. But Ben Green and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim were trouble-free throughout the race, and therefore there's no doubt that they took victory. A big thanks to the family, he said. And that is because the Queen of Malaysia has made the trip over here to Fuji to celebrate and support this Johor Motorsport. You know, this is named after the region in which they are king and queen. They also have become king and queen of Malaysia, such as the way that it works with the different regions and then the different kings and queens. But the team carry the name of the region of the country. And so it is much more than just two princes going racing these days. The pressure, the expectation, and the support of the country. And at the moment, Prince Jeffrey is absolutely delivering. It's put him back up to second in the championship, behind the 87 provisionally. But of course, we don't yet know if the 87 is going to get a penalty for contact down at turn 1, because he did go down the inside of the 66 and muscle that 66 off the racing line. It won't be a big penalty, but it could well be a penalty. And interesting that the 87 guys of Bob Wan and Leo Ye walk off the podium as well. So they are in a disappointed mood.
It was a very, very humid day from the morning. We've seen a lot of hot races going on. Thank you so much.
So as I say, Bob Wan and Leo Ye provisionally lead the championship ahead of Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim. Then there's a gap, and can you believe that Anthony Liu and Doran Boccolacci are still third in the championship? Now a bigger difference. And a retired car and another retired car in fourth position. Team Phantom and Team KRC, fourth, shared on 69 points. With Ben Green now just 2 points off them, having missed the first round of the championship where Alex Sims was aboard the 99 car. What a story it will be if the Corvette ends up winning the championship. Just the two silvers finishing the race, and Daryl O'Young on his return to the championship, taking a third yesterday and getting a second in the podium today. And the winners, who I think will be disappointed nonetheless with their overall position, Deng Yi and Lu Kai Lu. But that's sort of what they needed in the Silver Championship, to close down the gap to the 45 with a non-score for Team Phantom. It does allow Deng Yi to get a little bit closer.
That's the golden trophy. So, time for photo session.
And they finished in 11th overall, so they missed out on the overall points at the moment. I think the two cars that we see that are sort of questionable, and I say questionable because we haven't seen no real decent views of what happened. The 87 at turn 1, and then the 31 of Tao Chi at the last turn. Were they involved in the collision with the 89 and 66, or were they not? And it could just be me adding them into that mix by mistake. But they certainly were trying to overtake the 89 when they move out of shot.
Giving a big celebration splash to each other.
No doubt at all about the silver podium, though. Lu Kai Lu and Liang Jiaitong with two silver cars retiring. The 16 with that big accident into the pit wall, and the 45 being spun around in the first turn. In the first turn. Spinning himself around the first turn, I should say. What happened with regards to the 86, the 46 car? crashing under yellow flag.
So we're ready, and now we will have the silver.
Yes, he was
ceremony
given.
award.
It was
Please
an incident
welcome
with the
applause
98 of
in
Thierry
third
Vermeulen,
place,
and
car
Vermeulen
number
was given a
29,
5-second penalty
Juan Ruhan
for that.
Akashnil
That 98 car also was involved in an incident with the 13 later on in the race.
Han Min-wan, Dan Arrow.
But it wasn't given a penalty yet.
And first place goes to car number 86.
Silver arm then.
Lee Anders Frontberg. Woohoo!
And that was a popular victory, wasn't it?
Once again, we
Anders
gladly
fullback and
invite
Kieran
the
Lee.
Motorsports Manager from Asia
Only
Pacific
once on the
to take
podium
time
this
to
year
award
in
the
Silver
trophies
Am.
to all our drivers.
And that was in Mandalika in race 1, where we had that crazy final lap.
Oh, a pop went early. Hold it there, hold it there.
But not only did they get overall championship points for finishing in 6th position, they take the victory in the Silver Am Championship, which still will be dominated by that BMW. But in the end, a pointless weekend for BMW overall. That's really hurt their overall campaign.
First of all, give us a smile to the official cameraman in front of you.
And it is a competitive championship, the Silver Am category. There is no doubt about that.
Okay, smiles to the media and your family, friends. All good? So put your trophies down.
There's a big gap between the BMW and the Lamborghini that sits in 2nd position. And the new Kawamaru in 3rd spot for Nissan. Why did the Nissan end up falling so far back with Hirobon? Down in 13th overall, 4th in class. The Lamborghini finished 8th in class. But our winners today, Kieran Lee and Anders Forbach in 6th. Not sure why Anders Forbach has a different amount of points to Kieran Lee. I'm certain that the two of them have been in that car all year. But maybe I am wrong.
Okay, now we will prepare for the last ceremony for the weekend for GT World Challenge Asia. Please wait a while.
I mean, there's no excuse. I have watched
Okay,
every one of these races.
Now we
So
will have the AM Class Ceremony Award. Please welcome, with applause. In 3rd place goes to
we now
car
focus
number
on the
8,
next podium
Santoso, Andrew Bentley.
for the AM category. 4 cars in the AM category. And by far the strongest car was the number 60, but in both races ended up retiring.
2nd place goes to car number 51, William Ben Porter, Andrew McPherson.
Andrew McPherson, 2nd on the podium with Ben Porter. Very much helped by the safety car.
And first place for the AM class goes to car number 75, David Tiptopiantoro.
Yeah, so Anders Forbach and Kieran Lee have been in the car together all year. So I can't work out why they don't have the same amount of points. That must be a glitch somewhere.
We have some music.
Because it is the
Okay,
yeah,
so
it is a
for the
glitch.
last time today, we will invite Podium Motorsports Manager
Because on the live timing on the website, it is they have the same amount of points. So
we have
that was
some
throwing me.
music going
Right, here's the AM category podium. Great to have Andrew Bentley with us. Well done to him with Santosho. And maybe this year Christian Colombo can win the championship with David Chipto Bantoro, because it was David who won the AM category last year, but Christian Colombo missed one round because he had to be, I think it was Le Mans, where the Ferrari Challenge was a support race, and he is a Ferrari Challenge instructor. And so he missed that round. I think David ended up doing that round on his own, and therefore David ended up winning the championship on his own.
Okay, give us a big smile.
There's the Ferrari Challenge boys. I think their weekend is done.
I can hear the crowd singing. So give us a big smile to the
Unless
lovely
they,
crowd.
no, they don't have 3 races, do they?
Okay, all good. So put your trophies down for the last time this weekend for GT World Challenge Asia. Champagne time!
Oh, Andrew McPherson does love a champagne spray, doesn't he? These amateur drivers absolutely enjoying their weekend's action. I think Santosho there struggling with his champagne, having a little bit of a technical issue. But I do really enjoy the atmosphere amongst the amateur drivers here in GT World Challenge Asia. That Podium is always so lovely to see. As I say, Gary 79 with a healthy advantage over Ben Porter in second position, and Setawan Santosho in third spot, ahead of Andrew McPherson, who missed the first round of the year. That's why he's not got the same points as Ben Porter. And then the rest of those who have joined us, Andrew Bentley and Martin Berry, sharing the Alabama Motorsport car, and therefore with a similar amount of points. Please do keep in touch with us across our social media channels, on our website, GT World Challenge Asia, for all of the reaction and news post-race, because there is still a lot more to come in terms of decisions being made, and that result, I am sure, is going to change before the day is out. We've also got Japan Cup racing coming up from Fuji in a couple of hours' time, so if you need more from your GT fix, then please join us for Japan Cup. What a lovely moment to capture. Prince Geoffrey showing his honour to the Queen by kissing her hand, and then the Queen saying, "Come on, son." But in honour of the Queen, that is the way you greet her, by kissing her hand first before the familiar and family way of doing it. That was lovely. That's one for the highlights reel at the end of the season. Could this be our championship winning car? We've got 4 races left. We're finishing our year on a street circuit that nobody knows in Beijing. And I tell you what, it is very much open. What a weekend for Prince Geoffrey. We know that he has definitely taken victory here in Fuji Race 2 alongside Ben Green. I do think it's Ben Green who will be with him in Okayama as well, although Alexander Sims was thinking that Alex Sims is going to be in that car for the final races in Beijing. Provisionally, that was the plan anyway. In the global manufacturer standings, Porsche have moved ahead of Mercedes, as I predicted at the start of the day, but nobody would have predicted the results or the action that we saw here in Fuji. It was quite spectacular. Thanks for joining us.